Good morning, grade 7. Today we will start together chapter 3, what is heredity? Okay? When scientists make a great discoveries, sometimes their work is praised, criticized, or even forgotten. Gregor Mendel was almost forgotten. He spent 8 years studying pea plants, and he discovered patterns in way characteristics pass from one generation to the next. For almost 40 years, the people overlooked Mendel's work. When it was finally rediscovered, it unlocked the key to understanding heredity. Okay? So, in the mid of 19th century, a priest named Gregor Mendel tended a garden in a central European monastery. Mendel's experiment in that peaceful garden would one day transform the study of heredity. Okay? So, Gregor Mendel was the priest that spent 8 years studying pea plants and discovered patterns in way characteristics or traits pass from one generation to the next, or from parent to offspring. Also, Gregor Mendel presented to us the key to understanding the heredity. What's meant by heredity? Heredity is the passing of physical characteristics or morphological characteristics from parents to offspring. So, heredity is a branch of science that concerns or studying the passing of physical traits from parents to offspring. Okay? Mendel wondered why different pea plants had different traits. Also, he observed that the forms of the pea plant's traits were often similar to those of their parents, and sometimes the forms that appear on the pea plant are different. Okay? Before we're talking about the Mendel's experiment, we must know the reproduction of flowering plant, and we should to know the structure of the flower. You can imagine how Mendel made his experiments, okay? Reproduction of flowering plants. The reproduction of plant, okay, may occur through seeds or spores, okay? We have a type of plants known as flowering plant that contain flowers. The flower in the plant is considered the reproductive organ in flowering plant. Look at the structure of the flower. The flower consists of, number 1, look at the arrow. This is a stem that ended with a swelling part called the receptacle. And from receptacle there are green leaves called the sepal. Okay? After green leaves, there are a colorful leaves known as petals. Okay? Petals are usually brightly colored, and some are scented to attract insects. Okay? Inside the flower, okay, the flower may contain male organ only, or may contain female organ only, or may contain both of them. Okay? The flower that contain both the male and the female organs are called perfect flower. But the flower that contain one organ only, known as imperfect flowers. Okay? So let's start with female reproductive organ of the plant. This is known as a blue part of the flower, known as female reproductive organ, and is known as carpel or pistil. As we see in the flower, look at another figure, okay? As we see of the flower, okay, the carpel consists of 3 main parts, okay? The ovary, this is a swelling part known as ovary that contain ovules or egg. The function of ovary contains and protects ovules, okay? And after ovary, there is a style, okay? The style raises the stigma to increase the chances of pollination. And the last part, known as a stigma. Stigma is commonly seen in the center of the flower and it's covered with a sticky substance to allow pollen grains to stick to it. Okay, and this is part known as carpels. Okay, the carpels is the female organs of the flower. This is part known as anther. Okay, stamen. Okay, and this is represent the male organ of the flower. The stamen consists of filament and anther, and inside the anther there are pollen grains. Okay, the filament is a thin stalk supporting the anther, and the anther is found on the top of the filament and contain pollen sacs that release pollen grains when ripe. Okay, the pollen grains, okay, are powdery substance found on the anther. They contain the male reproductive parts. Okay, the reproduction process in a flower occurred through two processes. Process number 1 known as pollination, and the process number 2 known as fertilization. Pollination means transferring of pollen grains from the anther to the stigma. Okay, we have two types of pollination: self-pollination and cross-pollination. What the difference between them? Self-pollination means the pollen grains from the flower land on the pistil or the stigma of the same flower, okay, without any one intervention. While cross-pollination, the pollen grains from the flower land on the stigma of another flower, okay, at the same species, okay, and this is occurred by insect, wind, or man. After pollination occurred, fertilization process happened. Okay, what happened after the reaching of pollen grain to the stigma of the carpel? Okay, the pollen grain grow and make a pollen tube. Okay, and then the pollen grain can fuse with reach to the ovules inside the ovary and can fuse with it, forming zygote. Zygote is the first cell of the baby of the plant, and after that zygote make mitosis, several mitosis division to grow, to allow the plant embryo to grow. Okay, then the ovule will develop into the plant embryo, the ovule will develop into seed, and the ovary will develop into fruit. Okay, thank you, grade 7, for your good listening, and goodbye.